the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today. The trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday, and previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and giving you some bonus content on Mondays. I'm, of course, your host, James Shea, alongside Kalika Yachts.
Well, me and James are in California, and this time we are actually dreaming because it is dream time, baby.
And that's a great segue. Because it is a great day for wrestling. Because we are wrestling with our top 10 dream matches. These are matches that haven't happened, might have happened, might still happen, depending on, who
Who
you
we
have on
pick?
your list. Um,
hmm
but yeah, our dream matches. We didn't really have any rules for this other than they had to be a wrestler, and that's that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it kind of gotta be it. That's about it.
Yeah. All right. So nothing really to go over. So let's get into it. My number 10 is Asuka versus China.
Ooh.
I feel like China really missed out on, you know, the truly great era of women's pro wrestling that we have today. And I don't think there are few better than Asuka right now. I do see like China could have been, an imposing force and Asuka just trying to chop her down and being that, monster that we know Asuka to be. Um, I think it could have been a banger, especially if it was at a WrestleMania. I'm not sure if they would have given this a WrestleMania main event, maybe a SummerSlam. Uh, but I just think of the endless possibility of moves combination. China trying to fight out of her Oscar the Oscar lock. Um, the possibilities were endless, and I think that both girls could have really got the crowd into possibly a 5-star match, in my opinion. And that's why it's my number 10. All right, Kalika.
That's a great pick. And mine was Jacqueline versus Charlotte.
Hmm. Okay.
Because to me, Jacqueline. Now, for those who don't know, Jacqueline in the USWA as Miss Texas was a fucking. She was ahead of her time, and the problem was that she was wrestling people who she had to train.
Right.
So to me, she was just like heads and shoulders above everybody, even though she made Sable look fucking formidable. That tells you everything you need to know. So I think with someone who could actually go like a Charlotte and the dynamic of size versus speed, because Jacqueline was all of 5 foot and Charlotte is all of six something. To me, I think that stylistically would have made a great banger of a match. And I know that if there was one thing Jacqueline could do, she could lay him stiff. And I know Charlotte would take him stiff. So I think those two stylistically would have been a great matchup. So number 10, Jacqueline versus Charlotte.
All right. My number 9 is the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels versus Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero. Um, Eddie Guerrero was considered the Mexican Shawn Michaels. So it's hard to believe that they wouldn't have an incredible match against each other. Style wise, aesthetically wise, both men were fantastic at telling a story inside a wrestling ring. So I feel like it would have been a work of art. Um, and low key, the promos getting into that match would have been off the chain. I mean, Eddie Guerrero, as great a wrestler as he was fire on that mic. And I could see him screaming at Shawn Michaels saying, "You ain't no sexy boy, I'm Latino, he," or something like that. Uh, but maybe, Eddie Guerrero goes for the frog splash. Shawn Michaels moves out of the way. Eddie Guerrero was the best at this frog splash because if he missed, he could roll out of it. So he would maybe roll out of a frog splash, get hit by the super kick. 1, 2, 3, 5-star match. Not if you're, Dave Meltzer, but you know what I mean. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this would have 100% been a WrestleMania match. And if you believe rumor and innuendo, if Eddie Guerrero did not pass away in November of 2005, this was supposed to be Shawn Michaels' match at WrestleMania 22.
Really?
Yeah, if you believe rumor and innuendo, it was supposed to be Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 22. Obviously, we got Vince McMahon versus Shawn Michaels, whether
Mm-hmm.
you like that or not. Um, but it does make you wonder what could have been because able, they were in the same era. It could have happened at any point in time, but that WrestleMania match, if it did happen, just like wow, what could have been, and that's why it's my number
Mm.
nine.
Mm. Oof, my number 8. I thought about this one, and I had to look it up, make sure it never happened. But Kurt Angle versus Daniel Bryan.
Hmm.
I think those two, as far, would have been a technical masterclass. And Kurt, with his wrestling prowess, it would literally be a ground mat type of match where there's holds on holds on holds on holds. Sorry, Dean Malenko. Holds on holds on holds on holds. And I could see Kurt bringing, because especially when Daniel was like not entertaining, I think he would bring out the entertainment in Daniel Bryan, because that's what Kurt Angle would do. He was a guy who could make some stuff funny, and I believe the backstage between them two making it like something friendly, and then once that bell rings, it's all go. I think Kurt Angle would win, but yes, Kurt Angle versus Daniel Bryan, number 8.
Okay. And I think that's a good thing to put into this as well. Who do we think would have won this dream match as well? All right. My number 8 is The Undertaker versus Andre the Giant. I think that would this have been a 5-star classic in the Tokyo Dome? Probably not, but you can't you can't not see the spectacle of seeing a dead man versus a giant. I think that and Andre had so much more mystique to him than a Big Show did. So I do think that in any era, this could have drew a lot of money. And considering how talented both guys are, it could have been a banger. It could have been very memorable. Um, I feel like now Undertaker was just coming in just when Andre was low key getting down.
Yep.
So if you swap out Jimmy Snuka for Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 7, well, immediately The Undertaker has one of the most monumental wins at WrestleMania to start off one
Mm.
of the all-time greatest streaks of all time. If you're talking about, complete fantasy land, then you're looking at Andre the Giant from the 70s when like he could do a drop kick, and American Badass 2001 Undertaker. I think
Mm.
that would have been the absolute sits to me. I, I think that would have been awesome. And if there was like a whole rivalry other than just one match, that would have been incredible storytelling. Either way, as much of a spectacle Andre the Giant was, I do think that The Undertaker would have won in the end because he is, you know, the American badass, big evil, the phenom himself. And that's why it's my number 8.
Mm. All right. So last one was number 9. Sorry. So now I'm gonna go with my number 8. It's crazy that these two were probably. I don't know if they were ever in at the same time, but I know that they never got as big as the same time. And that would be Batista versus Brock Lesnar.
Right.
That would have been a fucking powerhouse of a match. That wouldn't even. What does Biggie say? Two big men slapping meat. That would have been the ultimate meat slapping match because you got Dave Batista, the bodybuilding jujitsu badass against a NCAA Division One heavyweight champion and a UFC champion. So both were big. Both were larger than life. I want to say that they were on the roster at the same time. They just never crossed paths.
Batista was on Raw and as Brock Lesnar was on SmackDown.
I know. They never crossed that. They never pushed that envelope between those two. I think '05 to maybe '07 Batista versus, well, shit, any year Brock Lesnar. That motherfucker was, I mean, when has he ever had a fucking fall off, right?
Yeah. Brock Lesnar in general.
Like, when the fuck he ever had a fall off? But with that being said, I think that match would be a big banger, and I think Brock would just take that motherfucker to task like it's nobody's business and win it. But I still think Batista would hold his own. I feel like he would throw like 15 Batista bombs, and Brock Lesnar would get out at 1. He would kick out at 1 just for the fuck of it. And just tear his ass up, and Brock Lesnar gets the win. So my number 8 is Brock Lesnar versus Batista.
My number 7 is, and the returning name on the my list, China versus Becky Lynch. When you think of, women's wrestling, pro wrestling today, I don't think there's any name kind of bigger than Becky Lynch. Even as big as Rhea Ripley is right now. Um, but Becky Lynch is the man. Always has been, kind of always will be in a way. Um, and China was the man in her era. So while I don't think that this would have been able to be made, this match would have. There was no viability of crossover between the two of them. I do think that it would have been a fantastic match. I think Becky always did better against um, bigger women. So I do think that they would have been able to have a really good match. Um, China would have laid in her shit, and Becky would have take took her licking and keep on ticking.
Hmm.
Um, and this could have been a WrestleMania match. In all honesty, I think that uh, both women could have had just a genuinely really good story and a really good match together. Um, Low key, I think China would have won. I think, uh, but yeah, that's why it's my number 7.
Oh gosh, my number seven is actually a tag match.
Okay.
Uh, the Dudley Boys versus the Legion of Doom.
Hmm. Okay.
Because, and the only reason I want to see that because these two have been literally the Mount Rushmore of tag teams. Both are regarded as two of the greatest tag teams of all time. Um, stylistically, you have the more biker Hell's Angels ish Legion of Doom versus the country bumpkin Dudley Boys of Dudleyville.
Wherever that may
Uh,
be.
the story tells itself. It's like Hell's Angels versus Rednecks, interracial Rednecks. Uh, both of these guys won titles everywhere they went. Um, I think that this would have been a match where it would have been tearing the house down. I mean, the entrances themselves would be nice. Uh, I personally hold the Dudleys. I think they would get the edge because they would 3D animal through the table. They would hit the 3D on animal through the table and get the win, cementing them as the greatest tag team of all time. So this is number 7.
Yep.
7 Dudley Boys versus the Legion of Doom.
My number 6 is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk.
Ooh.
I think that they are very similar in many ways. A renegade rebel of each generation. Um, and I think that they would just have a great drag out slobber knocker type match against each other. They could have beat the crap out of each other, um, back and forward. Maybe even a little bit bloody. Both guys like that type of thing. Um, and like I said, they're very similar as they like to talk shit, they like to bark, and they are, pun intended, a cult of personality. The crowd has, for better or worse, have always been behind both guys. So it's not, it would definitely be like a Hogan Warrior type scenario where you really had to choose who you wanted to be on their side. But the crowd would have been into it for the whole long way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think this match, I mean, even to this day, I think this match could still actually happen. Um, if they pay Stone Cold like a shitload of money, I think he'd get back in the ring with CM Punk. I don't think it would be like a 5-star Tokyo Dome match, but I think that the crowd wouldn't want it to be that either. I think that they would just be happy to see these two icons in the ring together. Um, Even a couple of years ago, I think before Punk left WWE, there was rumor and innuendo that this match might actually happen. Um, so hey, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but um, I guess we shall see. That being said, I do see Punk eating a stunner and Stone Stone Cold taking the W because Stone Cold no yob. Uh, Goddamn kid, gotta pay your dues.
The old gotta pay your dues, kid.
That's why it's my number 6.
Oh God, I'm over it. I'm done. My number 6 is Bret Hart versus Eddie Guerrero.
Ooh, okay, good.
I'm a fan of Styles making fights. And the specific year I'm gonna go 94 Bret Hart versus '04 Eddie Guerrero. Just to be specific. Look at that. I'm going by years now. Um, because I think those two would have tore the house down. Eddie, even though he wasn't as quick as his cruiserweight days, he still had the speed. And I think Brett could match him with a little bit of the speed and was a little bit more technical. And I like to see that style, the technical. The closest I think we got to this, to me personally, was Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko, in a sense. But I think the weight of Brett would be able to wear it down on an Eddie. But in the 97 range, but in the '04 range, he was a little bit more bulkier, a little bit heavier, so he was able to take a lot of those punishing backbreakers and slams that Brett would do. This match would be and Brett knew how to sell.
Oh, yeah.
And Brett could take it, and Eddie could take it. I personally think that this match would be a no contest because Chavo or Owen would pop out. One of them jealous ass family members would have popped out and fucked it up for everybody. But it would still be a hot ass match nonetheless. So yeah, number 6, Brett Eddie Guerrero.
And then you have Bret Hart and Eddie Guerrero versus Chavo and Owen.
I know, right?
Yeah. But this match that match could have actually happened at some point. Like when Bret went to WCW in '98.
WCW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could have low key. He could have had a match with Eddie Guerrero for sure.
Fucking Goldberg.
All right, we'll get into the nitty gritty. My number 5. It's the whole fucking show. Rob Van Dam versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Ooh.
Two of the all-time greats. Ricky more or less invented the style of wrestling that RVD, uses. So it would have been really interesting to see what they would have come up with together. A lot of arm drags, a lot of kicks, some outside play, um, maybe a Van Daminator in there. Um, it would have been brutal. It would have been a very it would have been a very indie-rific match, I would say.
Hmm.
Maybe not a lot of storytelling, but just a lot of great moves that people would actually be invested in watching. Um, so I think that it would have been that they would have laid their shit in, and it would have been a great match. Um, and it would obviously have gone to a 1 hour time limit draw because I don't think Ricky the Dragon did any other matches but 1 hour draws. Um, I think RVD could have made that distance as well. Uh, both guys would have been exhausted in the end, but it would have been a classic for sure. And that's why it's my number five.
Ooh, this is getting to the nitty gritty. Um, Number five. I actually throw his name in there. John Cena versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. You talk about good man versus bad man, supposed hero versus anti-hero. You cannot get no bigger than this. Both men were the top of their game. Both men uberly popular. One wanted to be a thug. The other one was just a badass redneck. Cena would run down to the ramp, try to throw his "you can't see me" as Austin just flipped him the bird. uh, a bunch back and forth. The five knuckle shuffle tries to get hit. He misses. Austin kicks him with the stunner, and it's a freaking wrap. But just seeing those two titans in the ring alone on a stare off would be just bananas. Uh, and I mean, 97 Austin still could wrestle, but it was like which five moves of doom would be more relevant. And I think Austin's would be because those are the breaks, kid. Uh,
Gotta pay your dues.
you gotta pay your dues, man. Uh, oh yeah. With that being said, I think Austin would win the match, but it would still be a classic. So number five, Austin versus Cena.
All right. My number four. And honestly, this is one of the matches I'd really be excited to see if it actually did happen. And that is the Road Warriors versus them boys, the Briscoe brothers, Mark and Jay.
Really?
Yeah. Uh, I think that, like you said, there were no bigger badasses in the world than the Road Warriors. And, like, you had to be either crazy or a real man's man in order to step up to the Road Warriors. And the Briscoe brothers, while they was crazy and they were man's men, they did not give a fuck who you were or who you thought you were. When you step into their ring, it was their world, and you better man up or get the fuck out. So this would have been in any era a bloody war between two of the greatest tag teams of all time. And
Mm-hmm.
if this was in like the 70s and 80s, they would have had them hanging from the rafters. This could have sold out like any major a stadium show if given the chance. It would have been. just incredible, an incredible war. And you would have the Briscoes, being scrappy, and I see them even using the Road Warriors, their pads with the spikes, and just stabbing them with them because they were
Yeah.
that crazy. Bringing in chairs and trying to fuck them up. The Road Warriors going tick for tack with them, going stooping to their level. But I don't. If I'm being honest, I don't see that the Road Warriors would take the W on this one. I think the Briscoes, being them boys, being so down and dirty and willing to do anything to get a W, I think that they would have won. I think that they would have got the better of them. But I do
Mm.
think that it would have been maybe a series of matches that maybe the Road Warriors would have came up on at the end. But a forced one-on-one match, the Briscoes would have won because the Road Warriors wouldn't have seen it coming. If I'm being honest,
Mm.
and that's why it's my number four.
Mm. Oh, let me see. My number four, Seth Rollins versus Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
Con- Considering Seth Rollins has been probably the workhorse of the 2000s or the 2010s as a wrestler, and he's had his share of bad matches, but he's had multiple bangers with anybody. And I think him and Shawn would just tear the house down. They were two like bodies. I think Seth's speed and agility gives Michaels a little bit of the problem. Because Shawn at the time, I mean, like what, 95 Shawn? Yeah, he was the guy. But Seth now, and Seth Seth this year, even with a fucked up knee, will still give Shawn Michaels some problems. Um, I think this match will be a masterclass on selling. I think this match would be a masterclass in move sets, agilities, trying something different. And Shawn Michaels is my GOAT. I can see Seth winning that match.
Hmm.
Seth Seth being heelish. Go, he, Shawn Michaels goes for the sweet chin music. He misses. Seth just gives him that low blow, hits him with the stomp, and it's a wrap. I literally could see it happening. Uh, I could see Seth getting the win. And everybody knows Shawn Michaels has been my GOAT for the longest, but it's getting tough to say that with the way Seth has been performing. So I think, yeah, Seth will get the win. Number 4, Seth Rollins versus Shawn Michaels.
Okay. Number 3. Bryan Danielson versus Chris Benoit.
Ooh.
Um, Simply put it, they are very like-minded individuals when it came to pro wrestling and how they pro wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat similar body type. Benoit might have been a little bit more muscular. Um, but I do see a lot of similarities in Bryan that I saw in Benoit. Um, take away the charisma. Uh, I think that this match would have been very hard hitting. Um, I feel like it would have been there was going to be black and blue marks on both guys. Chests were going to be busted open. Maybe heads would have been
Hmm.
split. But that's just kind of how both guys wrestle. There's this reckless intent of you wrestle like it's your last match. And both guys had that type of mentality.
Hmm.
So, I can't imagine like they would go until both of them just kind of spontaneously combusted. Uh,
Possible.
it just, and having that type of match with that type of intensity with two really hard hitting characters like that, it makes you wonder what it actually could have been. I think,
Could have been.
yeah, I think uh, what Benoit would have been the best for this one? Maybe 03, 01 Benoit. And Brian, what would have been a good Brian? Maybe like 20. I'll go 2012.
12?
2012, yeah. I could go 2012. Um, if maybe Benoit was fired in like 2001, 2002, and he took a drive up to Ring of Honor, he could have made his way against Bryan. I think he was wrestling in 2005, right?
Mm. Who, Benoit?
No, Bryan.
Give or take. I mean, Punk was around that time. Punk was in that area, so yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
I
see why
mean,
not.
it would have been when Bryan just kind of started cutting his teeth in pro wrestling, but it could have happened. But either way, whether it was Daniel Bryan now, Daniel Bryan then, Daniel Bryan in the middle, I do see him chopping to the crippler crossface.
Oh.
Yeah, and that is why it is my number three.
Oof. Man, you're getting there now. Uh, Number three. This one's tough because number three. See, I already have my two. No, I know my. There it is. I got it. Number three. See. Uh, Damn. What the fuck was my number three? Hold on. One is. Number three. AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels. There we go. I was getting there. It was getting there. All right. AJ Styles, of course, we know AJ Styles. And this AJ Styles, I would say, particular year, 2016. 2016 AJ first hit in WWE because he was wrestling like he had some shit to prove. 96 Shawn Michaels, who's also, oh no, 97 Shawn Michaels, who was like bad back but could still fucking go. I think those two would tear the house down. AJ's a lot more high flying. It's kind of like in the mold of Seth, except he's a lot thicker at this time. So he's got more muscles on him. So those forearms are hitting heavy, and Shawn can sell them heavy, and Shawn could get his offense in. And I think this match would be a masterclass in terms of regards of ring generalship. It would get a "This is awesome" chant. Although, with that being said, I think AJ goes to that phenomenal forearm, happens to miss it, I think he gets caught with the sweet chin music while trying to hit the phenomenal forearm. Shawn Michaels getting the win. Getting the win. 1, 2, 3. in the middle of the ring, but I think that those two would tear the fucking house down.
You mean Shawn Michaels actually won a match in your fantasies?
I told you he's my goat. He's my goat. He is. It's getting tough with Seth. I ain't gonna lie to you, man.
Well,
The way Seth and boy. Ugh.
well, that brings me to my number two. Let me know if you have any sense of deja vu. That would be Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles. um, I mean, all of the reasons you just listed. Um, AJ Styles is this generation Shawn Michaels. Both are the greatest at telling stories, athletically the most gifted, um, just phenomenal, no pun intended. I would honestly, I would like to see Shawn Michaels 2007 versus AJ Styles of right now.
Mm.
Because Shawn Michaels of 2007 wasn't necessarily, going, he wasn't necessarily, at the end of his career, still had some bangers in him. Um, and he had nothing to prove. He was Shawn fucking Michaels. He was the Heartbreak Kid. He could still main event WrestleMania if he wanted to, which he did that
Mm-hmm.
year. So that's Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles of right now, who has nothing to prove, has all the titles and accolades and everything in between. It there's it's just to prove who's the best, who could outperform who. Because Shawn Michaels, when it came to having a match, he took great pride in being able to outperform anybody he was in the ring with, and that's what he would have wanted to do with AJ Styles, and AJ Styles vice versa. So this would have awesomely went like maybe 45 minutes in my opinion. And
Mm.
I, unlike you, I see Shawn Michaels going for the super kick, him missing, AJ Styles hitting the Pele, and while Shawn Michaels is stunned, hit the um hit the Styles class and get the 1, 2, 3.
Mm.
And that is why Shawn Michaels and AJ Styles is my number two.
Ooh. My number two. Actually, I think it was like your number 9 or number 7, which was Austin and CM Punk.
It was number
Uh,
6.
your number 6. Your number 6. Um, specifically 96 Austin versus 2011 Punk.
Hmm.
Uh, reason I picked those, Punk literally just hit the pipe bomb. Austin just did Austin 316. They're both coming off these hot promos where it shocked the world. And they're just both trying to prove themselves. This is when Austin had still that mobility. He's not trying to do the 5 moves of doom, kid. I'm not taking. I'm taking. Just give me the stunner and I'm gone. This is when he actually could go. And this is when Punk was on the cusp of leaving and he had something to prove too. Actually, they actually did tease a match when Punk was the cover of WWE 2013.
That's right.
I mean, and they had a couple of run-in with promos because Austin was the guest referee, and I'll never forget when Punk was like, "You smell drunk. Can you say your alphabets backwards?" And Austin was like, "Well, I can whoop your ass backwards." So the promo game would be off the chain because it's give and take. It's give and take. And Austin just coming out with curse words. And it's the crazy part too, because it's just the beer drinker versus the guy who don't drink.
Right.
The, the guy who swears every 3 words versus the guy that doesn't swear every 3 words. So it could be more of a contrast if you could ever see it in your life. Granted, I picked those two specific years, and the reason why, because unlike you, I think CM Punk is going to get this W. Because I don't give a damn what you say. Austin's knees were always Austin's knees. But I could see Austin going for the stunner, Punk being able to block it. Austin tries to turn around. He gets kicked to the stomach, hits that GTS, and it's a wrap. CM Punk getting the win, a shocking win, if you will, over Austin, and showing him that you shouldn't drink that many beers before you get in the ring, kid.
We have
So
yeah, continue.
so number 2, Austin Punk.
We have similar taste and dream matches, but definitely not who when it comes to going who goes over.
I know, right? You got Austin. You got Mike Austin going over Punk. You got Michaels going over AJ.
No, I had AJ going over.
Oh no, you had AJ going over Michaels. I had Michaels going over AJ.
Right. All right. That brings me to my number one. My number one is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Icon Sting.
Really?
When you think of the Attitude Era, when you think of the Monday Night Wars, your two biggest stars on opposite ends of the spectrum was Stone Cold Steve Austin and Sting. Sting in 1997 was the only thing that broke people out of cheering the NWO. People went batshit crazy for Sting when he went up
Mm-hmm.
against the NWO. And it was on the level of Stone Cold at that time. So you have the two biggest stars from the Monday Night Wars colliding. I can't
Mm-hmm.
imagine that it wouldn't be um, a big match that wouldn't draw a lot of eyes to it. Specifically, I would have picked somebody from both guys from that time. I mean, Sting won the Starrcade '97 in December, and Stone Cold won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania the following year, which was April. So, like, in a 4 month span, both guys won their respective world titles.
Mm-hmm.
If you slide Shawn Michaels out for Sting, you could have had a stadium sellout, honestly. Sting versus Stone Cold. 1998, both guys are on electric fire, as hot as fire can be, magma. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I style wise, I don't know how it would actually work between the two of them, but I think both guys would have been able to come out with a great match against each other, put something together. Stone Cold wasn't that badly injured at that time. Um, and Sting was. I don't think Sting has had any major, like, injuries other than the Seth Rollins bump. So I think both guys would have been healthy and able to have a good match against each other. As to who would have won, um, maybe I'm just biased, but I would have probably gone with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Um,
Mm,
WWE bias, Stone Cold biased. Um, so yeah, I do, but I do think, I do believe that at one point, this match actually could have happened. Um, it was rumored and innuendoed that Sting was interested in coming into WWE in 2002, which would have made for Steve Austin versus Sting at WrestleMania 18. That was one of
mm,
that would have been one of the ideas they were throwing around at the time. Obviously, we got Scott Hall and Austin, um,
mm-hmm.
but I mean Sting and Austin would have been clearly the bigger match at that time. So it is interesting what could have been, um, but yeah, that is my number one: Stone Cold versus Sting.
Ooh, wow. Well, my number one, it's weird that these two didn't touch each other, especially as the Attitude Era was ascending. And it's Shawn Michaels versus The Rock. Uh, it's weird that those two never hit each other, especially considering that. I mean, it's weird because, especially considering the timing, because after Shawn Michaels left, Triple H was feuded with The Rock. So think of that easily could have been Shawn. Um,
Yeah.
easily could have been Shawn if he had just stayed with the DX role. So to me, I think The Rock coming to his own in the promos. I think he had bangers with Triple H in those years, but I think Shawn would have put him to another level. Um, I think 97 Shawn versus 98 Rock. Hell, even I'll take '07 Shawn versus 98 Rock. I'll take '07 Shawn versus, well, not 2012 Rock. I mean, after '05, '05 Max Rock. That was when he was at his best. Uh, so yeah, any of those years between those for The Rock, 98 to '05, and then Shawn Michaels, just pick a year. Shit. I think other than his Rocker year, I'll put it like that. Let me 95 to 2012, easily. I think those two would have had a great match. And Rock could go because I seen him as, flex. I seen him as flex in USWA. So the guy had the moveset and he had the speed. And I think good old Shawn just had just a little bit more in the business to catch The Rock the same way he caught The Rock with that people's elbow. The Rock tries to hit the people's elbow. Shawn Michaels kicks up, hits that super kick, and it's a wrap. 1, 2, 3. Shawn Michaels gets the win. See, I told you, man. Shawn is the guy. Shawn's the guy. So yeah, my number one, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, is just a crime that they didn't touch each other. Especially as The Rock was ascending and Shawn was kind of being drama Shawn. I ain't gonna lie. It was, I mean, during those times he was dickish, so I can't even lie about that. But it still would have been a banger, and I think Shawn would have got the win.
All right. That will conclude our list. Very interesting, both on my part and your part. Um, Interesting that we both had the same matches and very different outcomes. And Shawn Michaels was your top three.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels was like,
Hmm?
I mean, well, he was two of my top three. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hold him in high regard. He was, I mean, you were born right when Shawn was starting to cook, but when he was cooking. And then when he came back, and he was cooking when he was fucked up.
right.
Then he think when he got sober, he was putting off he was killing it. So that's the only reason I hold him in high in that regard. Uh, Shit, we might end up doing another show about our top 10 wrestlers or our Mount Rushmore. And Sean's up there, but god damn it, Seth is making his case, man. Seth is making his fucking case with me. When I think of his catalog
Oh yeah.
and I think of all that shit, I was like, Jesus Christ, this dude might be like, he may not be like the uber superstar like Roman, but that motherfucker got a catalog that Roman can't touch yet.
Very true. And to your point, I know that everybody talks about Shawn Michaels 92 to 98 run. But, the 7 years that he came back from 2002 to 2010, I mean, I can argue that it was better than that run, than his previous run. He had better matches with, I feel, higher quality talent. And he wrestled Triple H, Randy Orton, John Cena, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker. Um, he had these, and they were all, fantastic matches. Hence,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think people talk about those matches nearly as much as they do, the matches prior to that. But the return run was nothing to sneeze at. It was a great run.
Oh yeah, I think, and to me, I think people talk about that run because he was such a dick, but he could still like he was the cocky motherfucker that was fucking you over and still could get you in the ring.
Oh yeah.
I think the '02 to 2010 run, I think that run personally was better than his 92 to 98 run because of those names. And when you think about Shawn Michaels, you're not thinking, when you think of Shawn Michaels, his top matches, I can make the argument four of them were in the latter decade.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm thinking Michaels Cena, Michaels Taker, Michaels Angle, and then you got Ramon Michaels, Michaels Hart, Michaels Diesel,
Mm,
maybe, and that's a push. But I would put Michaels Benjamin over Michaels Diesel.
I agree
I'll,
with that.
I would put um, Michaels Shane over Michaels Diesel, Michaels Triple H, Michaels Hell in a Cell, Michaels. Yeah, he's had some fucking heaters.
Oh yeah. Well, at least we could both agree on that. The Road Warriors is taking their L's in their three matches.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Dudleys, man, they gonna put them through a table. They'll get spiked, but they get put through a table for their troubles.
And the Briscoes will get their pound of flesh like they always do.
And Spike would be able to do more than Paul Ellering could do.
Oh yeah, we could definitely agree on that.
Like Paul could only talk. Spike was out there taking ass whooping.
Oh
See,
yeah.
you could distract taking the ass whooping while the tables just
Yep. All right. Like I said, that will conclude our top 10 list. Thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. Join us tomorrow and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and join us this Saturday as we preview and review the latest shows from WWE, AEW, and everything in between. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Where can we find Kaliko?
I am Kaliko. I think my only regret with this list, we should have did it sooner with Scooter.
Yeah, 100%.
Miss you, bud.
Yes. And for Kaliko Yachts and Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.